Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Grand Garden Tour of Roses for 2024. I'm really excited to show you what is blooming right now. There's a whole lot going on, and there's gonna be continuous blooms happening, over the next month. But I just picked today to be my Grand Garden Tour because most of everything is in full bloom, but not necessarily everything. But right now it's looking really great here in the front bed. Right now especially, Sweet Mademoiselle is just absolutely gorgeous. This is one of my favorite hybrid tea roses by Mayland. And the color of this rose is just superb. It is stunning. So many ruffles, so many petals. And there's a lot more to come. And that would be Luigi in the background. He's gonna be following me around, I'm sure of it. Then right here we have Pink Traviata, which has some blooms that are just starting to open. And then lots of buds, healthy foliage. Here we have Apricots and Cream, which is just about to open. And then this beautiful thing here is Alchemist, which is a climbing rose. It's a one-time bloomer, and it's on its last bloom cycle now. It's been blooming for several weeks and looking absolutely beautiful the whole time. And then it's got a lot of new growth that's popping up all over the place. Here we have Charlene, Princess Charlene DeMonico, another Mayland rose, which I just absolutely adore. I love how ruffly it is, and it's still a very upright rose. It doesn't flop. It's so great. Here we have Summer Romance. All of my Summer Romance roses are in pretty much full bloom right now. I can't wait to show them to you, especially the ones in the backyard. They're just looking amazing right now. And then tucked back in here, we've got State of Grace. And the catmint is just growing like crazy and blooming like crazy. Down here, I've got a couple of apricot drift roses. And then all dressed up is got its first flush has bloomed out, and now the second round is coming through. Here's another Summer Romance. And Earth Angel is just starting to open up. I'll probably do a Grand Garden Tour of Roses Part 2 as well, because there are some that just aren't quite ready yet. And this is our newest bed that we just created. I've got five newly planted Francis Mayland roses right here next to this Mystic Spires salvia. And I'm still waiting on some roses to fill this empty space in here. They should be arriving soon, I hope. But I've got most of my Grace Rose Farm exclusive roses planted in that bed. But up here, we've got New Dawn looking absolutely gorgeous in full bloom. And it's my hope that this rose will climb all the way up the trellis, which it should. It gets pretty big. But my hope is it will climb all the way up, and I'll have some canes to work with to frame out the windows. This is only its second year in the ground, so I think for only its second year, it's doing really, really well. This is a really pretty rose. And then there is one behind there, but the hydrangea has kind of swamped it a bit. But I am hoping that it will soon grow up behind it, and eventually I can tack it to the trellis. And then the next one, the last New Dawn, is right here. So hopefully this whole, and I'll move back a bit, there we go. Hopefully this whole area will be covered with roses one day, maybe in a couple years, I hope. And here we have this gorgeous, massive bloom of Sweet Mademoiselle. And look at that. Look at how big the bloom is. It's so beautiful. And it does have a pretty, this morning it's a mild fragrance, but have smelled it before where it's had a very strong fragrance. There's a bunch down here. Probably should cut these and bring them inside. But aren't they just beautiful? This is just one of my favorite roses. I just absolutely love the form. Hi, baby. Hi. Hello, sweet boy. You gonna follow me around? Yeah? And we have some more Sweet Mademoiselle roses over here. Right by the front walkway. And these right here are daylilies that bloom. They have a purple bloom. So it's really a beautiful combination. I'm looking forward to seeing them in bloom at the same time. And these usually bloom in about a month or so, which I think, I'm hoping that we'll still have some blooms on here. I think we will. Those are pretty far behind. But isn't that just the most beautiful color? Now I use Maxi fertilizer as my main fertilizer. And this year I decided to just sprinkle it at the base of each plant and water it in. So they probably got a little bit more fertilizer than the label says that you should do it. So technically it's these roses are somewhat over fertilized, but they do well with it. They love it, and I haven't had any problems or issues with that. Just really big blooms, which I am here for. Isn't that beautiful? Looks like we got a little slug on the on that one. But isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I just love it. And I typically have a no spray garden. If it gets really bad, I'll spray with Rose RX. Like I had a really bad infestation of thrips on one of my new dawn roses. It was the one behind the middle hydrangea because it just wasn't getting enough airflow, and I think the thrips were just concentrated there. And so I sprayed it down really good with Rose RX, and then it was fine after that, didn't have any issues. But for the most part, I don't spray because if I tried to spray everything, then it would be extremely expensive. And then a lot of times it's just not even necessary. I have found with regular watering and giving them fertilizer, they stay very healthy, and usually the pest problems resolve themselves. So I don't typically spray unless I absolutely have to. Goodness, sorry for the noisy truck driving through. Goodness. So what I was saying is I don't typically spray unless I have to. And as long as you feed them well, they stay healthy enough to do their own thing. And if I have a problem with thrips or aphids, that's not a huge problem. I'll usually just spray them off with water or just smush them off with my fingers. Here we have Pompanella, which is just starting to open up. The one in the back is looking really great too. I can't wait to get you back there to see that one. And then this one is called Souvenir de Louise Amade. Beautiful rose. This one has struggled here for several years, but looks like it's making a comeback. It must have really liked that little jolt of fertilizer, because there's a new basil cane right there. So hopefully it'll catch up with Ispahan back here and Pompanella here, because these two roses have definitely done very well since planting. Isn't that beautiful? And then there's a whole bunch of blooms back in here, but it's hard for me to get to them. Here's a little cluster right here of Ispahan. Pompanella is one of those roses, if you can get your hands on her, definitely do so. Very, very vigorous rose. Tons and tons of clusters of blooms, always. And a very healthy rose. This is one of my favorites. And I love how Cordis roses, typically the way they grow, because they grow so vigorous and so fast, they'll have like this understory of blooms. And then, so this will bloom first, and then the newer growth top up here blooms second. So you get two flushes of beautiful blooms. It's a really great rose. Cordis roses are definitely a favorite of mine. Wow, lots of noisy trucks this morning, guys. Sorry about that. It's Monday. Goodness. Here we've got a hedge or a border of drift roses. This is called Sweet Drift. And we just planted these like what, back in January or February. And these roses were actually from Amazon, if you can believe that. Gallon size Amazon roses shipped to the house. And then back here we've got a bunch of roses from Palatine roses. This one's about to bloom. This is Golden Fairy Tale. And I've got 4 Golden Fairy Tales right up front here, which are growing great for being, literally they were planted just a couple months ago. I mean, super healthy roses. And then behind the Golden Fairy Tale, we've got a Fairy Tale Cosmos, and then a Courage Rose, and then Athena Eleganza. All doing really super great for only being in the ground for just a couple months. And then we've got a Bliss Parfuma that's just about to open up over here. And then this pretty little rose right here was here when we moved in. It's some type of ground cover, but I'm not sure of the name, but I love it. It's beautiful. And I just love how this drift rose is just covered in blooms. Aren't those just gorgeous? Here, looks like Ball Gown has quite a few weeds growing around her. Time to come over through here and weed. But we got 3 Ball Gown roses. They're growing very well. These were purchased from Edmonds Roses. And I've got an older Ball Gown rose that I planted last year in the back. I'll go and show you the bloom in just a minute. It's so gorgeous. Definitely one of my favorites. I'm coming to find the more roses I grow, I find my favorites, and then I just want to end up planting more and more of those. Oh, look at this rose. Let me get rid of this aphid here. This is Marilyn Monroe. Isn't that just spectacular? Beautiful rose. Has a really strong scent. We got noisy planes and automobiles and trucks, and it's not quite the peaceful morning I was hoping for during this video, but the beautiful blooms definitely outshine the noise, I think. This is another summer romance. You'll find that I've got summer romance planted many, many places in my garden. I think we've got an airplane like doing stunts above us or something. He keeps coming back around. A beautiful cluster of summer romance. Here we have Poseidon. Such a beautiful lavender rose. A lot of buds are to come on this one. Yeah, we have people who love to fly planes around here. We actually have a person that will actually fly a hot air balloon in the sky as well. He'll come up and across. And actually, I got videos of it. I need to show y'all. I'll include it in the video. But look at this gorgeous rose. This is Lion's Fairy Tale. Lots of blooms happening. Lion's Fairy Tale. And then back here, this more creamy yellow rose is Moonlight Romantica. Isn't that gorgeous? I love any of the Cordis series roses. The Romantica series, the Eleganza, the Fairy Tale. They're all super healthy, disease resistant. You just can't go wrong with them. This is Poseidon. Look at this beautiful rose. Oh my goodness. Such a beautiful lavender rose. And there's still a lot more blooms to come on that one. Yes, baby, I know. Here's Cinderella Fairy Tale, just starting to bloom on the bottom. Like I said, they kind of bloom in stages, where the lower half will bloom first, and then the upper story will bloom later. Such a pretty rose. And Luigi's right next to me every step. Look at that gorgeous thing. Oh my goodness. This is my only one of Cinderella Fairy Tale, which is hard to believe. I'd love to get my hands on another one. It's a beautiful rose. Here, Moonlight Romantica again. Oops, let's see if I can get through here. Here's Alchemist again. And then I'm gonna get back in here and see if I can get a good shot of Generous Gardener for you. Generous Gardener does look absolutely beautiful right now. Okay, now I'm on this side of the garden, which I've called my pollinator garden or my cottage garden in the past. More roses have been planted here as time goes on, but look at this beautiful thing here. This is a brand new rose called Loves Me, Loves Me Not. If I could get it to focus. There we go. Goodness, sorry y'all. I should be getting a new phone soon. I'm hoping with the updated phone, the camera work will be a little bit easier. But isn't that just the most beautiful ruffly rose ever? Oh, I love it. And let me see about the scent. It does have a very strong fragrance. Such a wonderful fragrance. It's definitely rose with some citrus. Just really, really potent. And we got several more buds to come. I just planted this in March, maybe late February, and it's covered in blooms. Here we have First Crush. This was planted the same time, covered in blooms, super healthy. And then this is Miranda Lambert. This was planted last year. This is a Grace Rose Farm rose. Beautiful rose. Let me see about the scent. It has a pretty, oop, well, that just fell apart. For this is an older bloom. It still had a pretty strong fragrance to it. Behind here, I believe this is Garden Party. And then one of these is Meteor, and then I'm not sure what the other one is. I'd have to go back and look through my notes. I still have not labeled them yet. But I'm pretty sure that this one is Garden Party. Sweet, delicate yellow blossoms, and then it's got a lot of aphids, and this is what I usually do with the aphids issue. I just squish them and pick them off, or I'll come in and spray them off real good with a hose. Oh, here's some more. Yeah, there's quite a bit out today on Miranda. Get off of there. Here, right here, I've got a grouping of 5 Princess Charlene DeMonico roses. This grouping really has made me fall in love with this rose. Absolutely beautiful. And I love how upright the flowers are. Really gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, such a pretty color, and it fades so beautifully. This is a more aged bloom right here. It's really, really nice. Down here, which I might have to move these roses because they are on the shorter side. They're a little bit shorter than I thought they would be. This is J'adore from Grace Rose Farm. They were planted last, I can't remember if I planted these last spring or fall. I think it was last spring. And I don't, does that look like mosaic virus to you? That might be. But a very pretty rose. Lots of blooms. But I might move it to the back. We'll see. More of Princess Charlene. And then behind me, this is Celsiana, which is an old rose. And I believe it dates back to before the 1700s. Isn't that pretty? Let's see about scent. Yeah, it's got a pretty strong fragrance. Most old roses do. Yeah, it smells nice. Especially for an opened, you know, an open flower like this one. Very nice. right now in here, I've got some lower growing Sweet Baby from Palatine. It's just about to open. It's so ready. This is why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to do a part tour of the Grand Garden Tour of Roses. Next to Luigi, I've got a Summer Memories rose, which is supposed to get really big. So I thought that that would kind of fill that spot in nicely. And then I've got the the shorter roses up front here. A lot of weeds, which I haven't been able to take care of weeds. We've been out of town. Luigi's liking the grass, but I can't wait to come in and show you these roses once they open. They're going to be beautiful. There's another one over here behind this weed. And one back in here. And then another one right here next to this gorgeous peony. Oh my goodness, look at that bloom. Such a pretty peony bloom. And here is another Summer Romance. I've got Summer Romance dotted all through the garden. And then this one right here is Claire Matin. Isn't that beautiful? In full bloom. Has a very nice fragrance to it. Not super strong though. Nice and delicate. Just the way it looks. And then on the trellis, I've got Madame Anisette. This is a little bit of an older bloom. Got some newer ones coming out. And then on the other side of the trellis here, I've got Olivia Rose Austin, which is still got some blooms on it, but it's definitely past its prime. But she has always grown very well for me. But this year she has lost a lot of her leaves for some reason, and I'm not sure why. Here we have some pretty peonies that have flopped over just a bit. But I am looking forward to getting this bed all filled in and showing you guys how that looks when it's done. Of course, it's going to take a few years for it to really fill in and look how I really want it to look, but we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, let's head back to the pool area and I'll show you the back garden. Hopefully it'll be a little bit quieter back there. All right, so here by the back door, we have a beautiful hedge of hydrangeas that lead out to the pool. And as you can see, here is where the pergola is, which is just making me so happy right now. But back to the hydrangeas. There's a grouping here called Big Daddy, which has a beautiful glossy green growth with light blue to white flowers once it blooms. And then here is Nantucket Blue, which these are more of a medium blue. And they are just covered in blooms this year. I'm so excited about it because last year we had a terribly cold winter and it just decimated the hydrangeas and they didn't bloom at all last year. So I'm so excited to see them bloom this year. I cannot wait for that. But here we've got some annuals and pots around the pool, geraniums with salvia and petunias. The salvia is just going like crazy. And I believe this one's called Rockin' the Blues salvia. And I've got geraniums, which are just looking so pretty right now. And then we've got begonias, white begonias in the pots. And then over here, here's that rose that I've been saying I need to tie back. And we got a really heavy rain on Saturday night that flopped it over. But this is called Zade. And I am picking up a trellis from Costco today to help correct this thing so it doesn't lean over so much. And then here we've got a bloom on a blossom time climbing rose, which has a light fragrance to it. Let's see about Zade. Let's see, Zade, how do you smell? I'd say it's about medium. It's a pretty significant fragrance there, which is nice. And then we've got this Arabella clematis in full bloom. Looking really pretty with the petunias down below. And then in these pots, I've got Star of the Republic from Antique Rose Emporium. They've had some blooms on them already. Here's one. It's a little bit older though. But if you go back through my videos, you'll see lots of blooms showcasing this rose. It smells amazing and it just looks so beautiful. So I've got three here, 3 Star of the Republic with some petunias planted, supertunias planted underneath. And then here I've just got a little grouping. This is apricot drift, another petunia, and then a grouping of Japanese maples, which the tallest one is Bloodgood. This one on the left is called Oregon Sunset. And then the bright chartreuse one is called Aureum. And then all along here, I've got Moonlight and Paris roses alternated with peonies and limelight hydrangeas that will bloom later in the summer. Here is a coral drift, which is struggling just a bit. Doesn't look very happy in that pot. And then I've got an Adam tea rose here, which is growing lovely, but I need to get an obelisk in there. And then over here, we've got a few more geraniums, a petunia. I love geraniums. They're one of my favorite flowers outside of roses. And then this is a rose from Palatine Roses called Out of Rosenheim, which is a really beautiful red rose. All right, through the gate to the backyard, here we have the star of the show this week. My Felicity A Perpetual Rambling Rose is an absolutely gorgeous full bloom. And if you go back through my videos, you will see I've done one where my husband, my dear amazing husband, actually got up on a ladder and took some videos and pictures of it up close so you can see how it looks up close. I am a girl who likes to see my rose blooms up close and personal, and so I was very thankful of him to do that video so you could see it nice and close. This pergola is about 10 feet tall. So I don't like heights. So I'm gonna let my husband get on ladders. So I was very thankful that he did that for me. But here's how it looks just in this pool area. We built this pool area in 2019, and we special ordered the pergola from an Amish woodworker up in Pennsylvania and had it shipped down here. And then my husband and my dad assembled everything together, which they did a fantastic job. It was very, very difficult to do. The Amish said that it would be super easy, but you know, they're Amish, they build things for a living. So I guess if you do it for a living, then sure, yeah, it's gonna be super easy. But if you're obviously not doing that for a living, it's gonna be a little bit challenging and you definitely need help. But thankfully it's all done and it looks beautiful. And the rambler up here is about 5 years old, because pretty sure I planted 2 ramblers back behind the pergola in 2019. So it's had, and it was probably about the 3rd year is when it really started to get nice and full up top. It took about 3 years for that to happen. But it's just looking so beautiful. And then next on this little column here, I've got Betty Corning clematis, which is just such a stunner. It's so beautiful. This is one of my favorite clematises, and it smells like candy. It smells like a mixture of sweet candy and honeysuckle. That's what I was trying to think of. Honeysuckle and sweet candy. Extremely fragrant. You can smell it when you walk by. And this has been planted here maybe about 3 years. I think this is its 3rd year. I love it so much that I planted 3 more in here last year. So I'm hoping in the next few years, this whole area will be covered with blooms. And when you're out here by the pool, you're gonna smell this just beautiful scent of clematis. Here we've got a mondial hybrid tea rose, which I think I'm going to be moving this because it doesn't fill this area in as much as I had hoped. Isn't that beautiful though? So I'm thinking maybe once after it blooms, I might move them. I'll either end up putting them in pots or moving them to another space in the garden. But let me see if I can get a close-up of Felicity for you in this area here. Whoops, let's see here. Here we go. And this rambler is a one-time bloomer. Most ramblers are, but it's well worth it. And once she's done blooming, she is growing all season long, putting out new canes, throwing out new canes, lots of new growth for the following season. Isn't Betty Corning just so beautiful? I love it. I love the bell-shaped flowers. They're just so delicate and beautiful. Such a beautiful clematis. So down here, I've got all my summer romance roses in full bloom, and Madame Anisette is not far behind. Up here is where Madame Anisette is. And if I could get a better angle, or maybe if I step back up here again, you might be able to see a little bit better how it's just blooming all the way down this side of the pergola. Let's get a little bit more up close here. Massive clusters of blooms on these huge, sturdy, thick canes coming from Summer Romance. Now this rose has a unique fragrance. I've heard it described as anise, and I would say that's pretty accurate. It's definitely different, but it smells good. But it's not your typical rose scent. Isn't that just gorgeous? And it just goes all the way down. A really beautiful rose. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's hard to pick a favorite though. Every year I say, oh, I have a new favorite. And I think that's just how rose growing is. You know, they're always coming out with new roses each year, and we find new favorites. And then we have our old standby favorites. Here we've got a lot of peonies in full bloom. Oh, look at these clusters. We had a really heavy rain the other night, and so I think that's why a lot of these are flopping over quite a bit. Oh, here you can see some Medea anisette blooming out. Just like I said, the understory growth is blooming first before the top growth. And then this one right here is Teasing Georgia. It's hanging on pretty well for me. It's not in the most ideal spot because right here, there's kind of an empty spot right here, and that's because the pool drain is right there. So all the runoff, if the pool gets too high, the water level gets too high, then it drains off right here. So nothing will really grow right here because of the salt content of the water. Generous Gardener is blooming. And look, the blueberries are growing, which is nice. I used to have this area lined with blueberry bushes. This whole section here had blueberries. and my impatient self was just not liking how they were looking. It just wasn't ornamental enough for me. And so I decided to take them out, give them away, and put in limelight hydrangeas instead. I really wanted something that really popped in the summertime because this is summer moon garden. But I did leave this one here, and then I have a few up front as well. So, I mean, we're gonna get a decent amount of blueberries this year because there's a lot on here. I mean, it's covered. Very exciting. And then Climbing Pinky is still looking great. She's been in bloom for several weeks. If you've watched my previous videos, you can look back and see her. But before we go around the corner, I want to show you Kiss Me Kate. I've got 7 Kiss Me Kate roses planted in these raised beds. And there is one raspberry bush on the end cap here, which is kind of taking over these two, but they are still gonna bloom. They're just about to open. There are blossoms everywhere. Oh, look at that beautiful rose. I think out of all of them, this is the one that's the most open right now. It does have a nice fragrance. And I'd say it's pretty strong. That's a pretty rose. Lots of new growth happening. Looks like the rain got to this one just a little bit. It's been raining a lot. It rained a lot while we were gone. We were in Greenville for the weekend. Oh, and look, it's falling apart. Oh, goodness. Oh. Still smells good, though. And we got this really pretty little verbena here that came back from last year. I planted that last year, and then we got potatoes growing as well. Just a random assortment of things. And here, I believe this rose is blooming, which we need to move this monstrosity out of the way. Like, why is that here? I wonder sometimes with my husband and my son. Like, what's going on? All right, let's move this to, I'm trying to get this on the, there we go. This is Wedding Bells Eleganza. Let's see about scent. It has a light fragrance to it. But sometimes when it's fully open like that, it loses some of the fragrance. So I can't quite tell yet. I'll have to come back and take a look at the other ones once they open up. Now back in here, we've got Blush Noisette. Don't want to forget about Blush Noisette. It's a nice little rose there. And let's see about the fragrance. I'm not really sure. It has a light fragrance to it. That's nice. This is kind of the area, we don't come back here too much, even though it is a nice little walking path area with some pretty plants. but it's obviously definitely for more utility pathway purposes. All right, let's head back to the rose garden. Okay, so this is my rose garden. And it used to be a vegetable garden, but I kind of got tired of vegetables and decided to convert it to a rose garden. And this conversion happened last spring. So these are very new roses. They have not been in the ground for a super long time. But here we have another summer romance. As I've said in the past, I've got her all over the place in my garden because this is just one of those roses that looks good no matter what. I don't have any disease issues. Never a black spot issue. Grows vigorously and blooms beautifully. Here I've got Queen of Denmark, which I had to cut back severely last year. And there's some blossoms happening. There you go. I don't think this rose likes to get cut back severely. It probably blooms on old wood because it is an old rose. So I probably sacrificed some blooms when I did that. Isn't that gorgeous? Queen of Denmark. Let's see about the scent, if I can get in here. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a super strong scent. Yeah, the old roses tend to have really strong fragrance. That one is great. Here we've got Earth Angel. Another one of my favorites. Grows very strong and beautiful, lots of buds. And then right now, Pompanella is in full bloom, I would say. And then this is what happens when you don't prune Pompanella. The one up front I pruned, this one I did not. And it just gracefully falls over. If you've got a long or tall wall, kind of like this area is, it's great for that. But I am gonna come back and cut it so the grass can have a little bit more sun. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, look at those gorgeous blooms. And they don't really have a fragrance. Yeah, this one doesn't really have much of a fragrance, but that's okay, because it's always covered in bloom. And then the kitties love to take little naps right here, don't you, baby? Hi, princess. This is their favorite spot. I just think they feel protected. But yeah, Pompanella is just Such a beautiful, beautiful rose. And over here on the trellis, Dreamland is still looking beautiful. Let's focus now. There we go. Still doing really, really well. And here is Leonardo da Vinci, just opening up. Let's see if it's got a fragrance. Ooh, yeah, it does. It's very delicate, but it's there, but I'm not sure how to describe it. It's different though. It's different from the other roses. I can't put my finger on it though. But super healthy, no black spot, blooming like a champ. French lace is making somewhat of a comeback. Still struggling a bit though, but it does have some blooms. My bolero, I just planted about a few weeks ago and it's doing okay. It has some black spot, but it's doing okay. Windsor Castle Wedding, I just cut a bunch of beautiful blooms off of this one. If you look back through my videos and my reels on Instagram and shorts on YouTube, you'll see some really pretty bouquets of that rose. Here we've got some amazing grace. Looks like there's going to be some nice blooms coming soon on these. And it looks like Dreamland needs to be staked. This rose, I'm telling you, it just grows so much. But I need to tuck that back in there. Look at that pretty thing. Isn't that beautiful? If you're looking for a vigorous, disease-resistant climber, Dreamland is it. I purchased this one from PalatineRoses.com. I haven't seen this rose available anywhere else, though. And this rose is always, like, nobody is, like, dying to get this one, which I find so odd. It was one of the last roses available on their website, which is fine, you know. More for me. Right here is Apricot Candy. Very pretty rose. Let's see about scent. I haven't smelled this one yet. It has a light fragrance. Light to medium, I would say. And here is one of my favorites this year, Courage. Absolutely gorgeous rose. And then here I've got La Fontaine All Pearls, which is opening up. I can't wait to show this rose to you in full bloom. It's just starting, it's just getting going. Here's one that's sort of opened here. Isn't that beautiful? Just a delicate pink. Yeah, there's a strong fragrance too, so that's nice. Oh, I love that one. And here is my gorgeous show-stopping courage. Isn't that amazing? I'm hoping I can use one of these blooms to enter into the rose show next weekend. We'll see how long they last and how the weather does. But I'm hoping. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this one. I really would like to get some more of this rose when Palatine Roses opens up their ordering for December. And I planted that last year and it's growing like bonkers. That's what I find so interesting about roses. A lot of these were planted about the same time. Not all of them, but most of them were. And some, you know, have shot up to 6 feet, like La Fontaine aux Pearls. That's definitely a 6-footer. And then there's some that are still, you know, 2 feet, like Queen of Elegance and Anne Vanderlove. But they're doing, oh, wow, look at that color. Oh, I don't have anything like this in my garden. This is very unusual. Well, if my phone would focus. I am sorry, y'all. I'm looking forward to getting a new phone soon. Isn't that beautiful? It almost has a bit of a coppery tinge to it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but that is very unusual, very different. Let's see if I can get a scent from it. It's just so low to the ground, it's hard to get down there. It's a light fragrance. Let's see about Anne Vanderlove, if I can even, nope, that one fell apart. Maybe the petals have a scent. Nope. But Anne Vanderlove, that's a pretty one too. Oh, and this one right here, that one is Moonlight in Paris. And then this one over here, which is struggling big time, that one is Over the Moon, which I might be taking that one out soon. And there's an empty spot here. And then this gorgeous, beautiful thing. Look at this rose. Now this is Ball Gown. This is what I have planted out out front, just behind that small hedge of boxwoods. This rose is highly fragrant, absolutely stunning form, beautiful color, frilly petals. It just checks all the boxes off for me because look at the foliage. It's glossy, green, very little black spot. There's some down below. Very strong fragrance. Such a beautiful formed rose, and they last a long time on the rose bush. So beautiful. This is a new leaf opening one. Isn't that just the most beautiful form? It reminds me somewhat of Loves Me, Loves Me Not. This one's just a little bit lighter in color. Here's a few that seem to be struggling in this area. State of Grace, Fun in the Sun. One that's not labeled anymore. I'm not sure which one that is. I'm gonna have to go back and look through my videos, but I've also got Unicorn Dreams. I think that's what it's called. Unicorn Dreams. Right here, this big one is Soul Sister Sunbelt, doing very well, growing nicely. She bloomed a little bit earlier. And then here we've got Lasting Love. Very pretty color. Let's see about scent. It has a pretty good scent to it as well. Pretty, I'd say medium fragrance, but those blooms are a little bit older, and so that might be why. Here on the arbor, we've got White Eden. Which I love this rose, except for the black spot issue and the leaves falling constantly. Aren't they beautiful? And let's see if it's got a scent. It has a light fragrance to it. Here we've got a little top cream about ready to open up. And over here we've got Roberto Alagna. It has a good scent to it. I really like this rose a lot more than I thought I would. It has a bunch of different stages of color. So when it first opens up, as you can see here on this bloom, it's much more bright orange and yellow. And then it fades to this as it opens. It's just a much more delicate color. I do need to come and prune it back just a bit though. It's got lots of flowers that have gotten a bit heavy for it. Here we have, which rose is this again? Palatine Traviata, which is just about to open up. And then this bed over here, which gets a lot more shade because of the peach tree that's growing here, which that's probably going to need to be pruned back or moved after the season. I'm hoping to get some peaches off of it before we do that, but it's just taking up a little too much sun space here. But here we've got Liv Tyler. And this is from Heirloom Roses. Let's see here. It has a really strong fragrance. That one's nice. But it was on the smaller side because it was from Heirloom Roses, but it's grown a whole bunch. It was a really teeny little thing when I planted it last year. Let's see here. There's also 3L roses in here, which were from Menagerie, that are, they've got buds, but they're still kind of small. And then back in there, I have Heavenly Scented and some Princess Charlene de Monaco. Here we've got Fragrant Masterpiece from Heirloom Roses. See the scent. Ooh, that one's different. It's very strong. It has like a clovey anise, kind of like a spice scent to it though. Interesting. Here we have Star of the Republic, which I have 3 of these roses up by the pool in containers. This one smells lovely too. It has that classic citrusy rose scent to it. And then on the pergola is Eden, which again, these just aren't doing so hot this year, but at least they are blooming. But nothing compared to Dreamland. I mean, that looks a lot better for sure. Here is a newly planted rose I just put in the ground a couple months ago. It's called La Perla. And I went ahead and ordered a few more off of Menagerie because right now it's like their last week selling bare root roses. They were only like 18 bucks a piece. So I decided to get a few to fill in. You know, we have an empty spot here. And there's a couple of other gaps where we could fill in some roses. Here we have Carding Mill, which is not really doing too much right now. Basketball has finished its bloom cycle. Oh, there it goes. And this is why I've stopped. One of the reasons I stopped buying David Austin's is that after the first flush is beautiful and gorgeous, but once that first flush is done, the rose itself really just does not look very desirable. It usually ends up getting black spot and losing its leaves. It looks leggy and it looks like it's struggling. Here I've got State of Grace. Isn't that beautiful? Has a really strong fragrance as well. That one, what does that smell like? It smells fruity, I would say. Gosh, it smells really good. Again, I'm not a connoisseur when it comes to explaining rose fragrances at all. But over here we have the Ancient Mariner, looking gorgeous right now. Look at this. Let me see if I can give you an accurate description of the scent of Ancient Mariner. Just like a light rose fragrance from what I'm catching right now. But sometimes, you know, it can vary. The scent can change sometimes. Sometimes it gets more intense. Sometimes it gets lighter. Here's Black Caviar, just about to open up. And then here we have Parfuma Dark Desire. This is just such a beautiful colored rose. I don't have a bunch of red roses in my garden, but this one, it's super vibrant. Oh, I love it. Let's see if I can get a fragrance from this. It has fragrance, but it's not super pungent yet. Not super strong quite yet. Here is Bliss. Look at this beautiful thing. It has a nice medium fragrance to it. And all these roses right here are Bliss. And they're doing very, very well. Growing nicely. Let's go back over here. I almost forgot about Quietness. Look at that beautiful thing. This is Quietness. That has a nice strong fragrance too. Hard for me to describe though, other than classic rose. Maybe a little bit of citrus in there, but that's a beauty. Here we've got Fontina Arbor Rose, I think that's what this one is called. On both sides, they're growing really, really well. They're doing much better than the Eden roses did when they were here. And this is a part shade area. So I'm super happy with that so far. And we've got to clean this area up. Oh, and then here we've got Lady Ash growing in these containers, which I'm wondering if it's time to take them out and maybe replace Eden with these. Hi, baby. Isn't that pretty? Lady Ash is one of my favorites. There's that Kirite Kanawa clematis, just starting to bloom. Luigi is making sure he's with me every step of the way. Such a pretty rose. Oh, I love this rose so much. Okay, so now I'm over here on the other side, where here is another section of the rose garden, which is in part shade. And up front here, I've got Sweet Mademoiselle. Don't mind the neighbor's dogs. Isn't that beautiful? And Sweet Mademoiselle is really, I mean, just the first couple of blossoms are open. There's a lot more to come. That's why I'm like, okay, we might have to do this garden tour, the grand garden tour, and a couple of parts here. But here, like here, we've got Top Cream, which is fully open. Isn't that beautiful? I didn't realize that Top Cream was on the pinker side. Thought it was more pure white, but it is definitely a light pink. And there's more to come with that. And then I'm gonna sneak back in here. Your Sweet Spirit. And then we've got Savannah. Isn't that beautiful? Savannah has a pretty strong fragrance too. Yeah, it's a very clean, bright rose scent. I just was smelling this one. Very strong. Here's Delish, just about to open up. That one's got a strong scent, even not quite open yet. And then here we have Golden Fairy Tale, which I just absolutely love the form of this rose. Look at how beautiful that is. It's such a cottage style rose. I planted 4 more up front because I just love it so much. It doesn't have much of a scent though, but that's okay. The form just makes me swoon. I mean, look at that beautiful cluster. So pretty. And then we have, I always forget what this one is. There's a tag under there. Sunny Sky, that's right. Sunny Sky. eleganza. Beautiful yellow rose. It does have a good scent to it. I'd say it's like a medium strength scent. And then this rose right here was supposed to be pretty in pink. It looks more like the traditional Eden to me. And here's Folklore, tucked back in here. Isn't Sunny Sky beautiful though? It's a really pretty rose. And especially for being in part sun back here, I am highly impressed. Ooh, look at this little section of all these down here, flopping over a bit. Definitely have some more hydrangeas that need to go in the ground. Again, lots of weeding. Haven't gotten there quite yet. And they're still waiting on a lot of roses to arrive. That's why this bed is still empty. Trying to be patient with Grace Rose Farm. And here's our little woodland walk. Today's tour is mainly centered around roses, but I will be doing more tours and videos about, concentrating more on the woodland area. But I figured I'd just walk through this area with you for a little bit. Still have some planting to do and lots of weeding as always. That's just how things are around here. The grass in here is pretty much brand new. It's only been down for about a month, but it's greening up nicely. We put in emerald zoysia and then had all the beds lined with stone and this edging here. So lots of new things happening in this garden. But I think that's really it for today as far as the Grand Garden Tour goes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that this video has inspired you to make a little spot in your garden and grow roses, or just grow whatever it is that brings you joy and happiness. This rose right here brings me lots of joy and happiness. Sweet Mademoiselle is just my absolute favorite. I love this rose so much. But again, I hope this video inspires you to grow whatever it is that brings you joy and happiness. And even if you don't need to have a huge yard. You can have a very small area, and if and even if you don't have a yard, you can do containers. If you live in the city, plant a rose in a container and put it out on your balcony. Whatever it is that brings you joy, I encourage you to do more of that, because that's what life is about. I mean, life is hard, right? We all know that life is hard. We don't need reminders of it. So let's do something in our life that we can enjoy and something that brings us happiness. And so I encourage you guys to do that. And again, I'll be doing more tours as more roses bloom, just because I love sharing the beauty of all of these beautiful flowers with you. And I hope you guys have the most wonderful day. And we'll see you in the next video. Right, buddy? Right? And I hope you like kitties too, because they're always making appearances. But okay, y'all have the greatest day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. That is so cool. We got a hot air balloon flying over our neighborhood this morning. Hi! Isn't that awesome? Getting ready to take Elizabeth to school. And this just is flying over our neighborhood this morning. It's never been this close before. We've always seen it off in the distance, but never this close. How amazing is that? He might be. Pretty neat, huh? The torch sound is so cool, isn't it?
I gotta get going.
I know, we need to get you to school, but this is kind of like a worthy thing to like be a little late for, I think. Actually, you won't even be late. It's pretty early still. That is so cool. Well, happy Tuesday morning, right?
Yeah.